Welcome to a fresh new episode of What I Know So Far. I'm Trish Sir, along with the gorgeous in stripes.
Oh, Karen
Karen
Mills,
Mills.
that's me looking
Sharp, very sharp.
looking Ralph Lauren.
Very Ralph Lauren. You are
Yeah.
always is it epitome or epitome, whichever, the height of chic. You are never, even Karen, like run into a grocery store, y'all, never look shabby.
That's not true, Trish, but
I've
I
known you a
appreciate
long
you
time.
saying that.
I'm telling you, I've never seen you in like a "what she said" T-shirt. Like, no, it ain't gonna happen.
No, but but you can catch me walking dogs in socks and sandals. So do
No.
not overrate me.
But they will be a chic sock and a chic sandal paired
not true.
together.
This is all about what this represents here is a sharp right off an exit to a Ralph Lauren outlet. That's
Let me tell you
what this is
something.
about.
No one makes a harder cut on a steering wheel than Karen Mills when
True.
she sees an RL outlet. If there is Ralph Lauren at an outlet or an Adidas,
Yeah, I do love an Adidas.
you love an Adidas. She loves a three-stripe life. Karen Mills will two-wheel it. I'm not trying to say she gets in accidents, but you will.
Well, not
Stop.
only will I, you've been with me many times, and I don't even have to be in the right lane.
No, that's what's
No.
impressive. She never puts anybody in danger, which is also another skill to you, a testament to your skills. Is you will cut across 4 lanes of traffic sometimes and be like, "I got us." And I'm like, "What's happening?"
Tanger outlets or premium outlets.
We see those signs, honey. We start salivating, sweating at the same time. And if there's a Ruby Tuesdays in the parking lot,
Cool. Yeah, we're having lunch.
we're having lunch. We're living our best lives. I don't have a lick of sense of that Ruby Tuesday salad bar, Karen.
I know it. That is life on the road right there. We just summed it up.
We did. I can tell you that I don't know what year it was. I'm going to guess probably about 2016. I got real thick and I couldn't figure out how I was gaining all this weight. And it's a true story. And I was on the road and I was starved to death. And I made my plate at the Ruby Tuesday salad bar and then made a side plate of their dang pumpernickel crouton, which I know are rolled in God knows because they don't have dairy, but they're like rolled in oil. With oil, excuse me, oil. Oil for your
Oil.
southern, oil for
Yeah.
your southerners, oil. And I was like, oh my Lord, I've gained probably 8 to 10 pounds in this calendar year off the croutons at the Ruby Tuesday salad bar.
Got a little crouton roll here I'm dealing with.
I just did 1 bite of a salad, 4 croutons. So I've cut back, everybody. That's what I've done. Karen and I can always go off the rails. This episode we know is going to be an Ask Me Anything episode. Y'all sent us some questions. We love questions. We love answering them. And you sent some pretty good ones. And we're not going to go on too long. But one of them is, yes, if you want to know what we do for fun, outlet malls.
One of the things, yes.
One of the many. Katie.
Well, since we were just talking about, that's life on the road and driving in between gigs and, what we do. But one question I got was what kind of jobs that we had before we got into comedy or when we were just starting out and had to supplement our income kind of thing. So
That's a great one. I can't wait to hear. You go. Yes, you start.
okay. Well,
Yeah.
when I started, I had to have something flexible because I was trying to work and take whatever gig I was offered to open.
Yeah.
But that might be one, if I was lucky, 2 weekends out of the month, and the rest of the time I had to work. But I couldn't be full time because when the booker
gig
called,
comes,
I
that's
was
right.
going.
That's
And if
right.
it meant quitting what I was doing, I'd do that too. So so I was bartending, I was pet sitting, I was driving a limo, I was doing anything that I could do to stay flexible so that I could go do comedy. And some days, I'm not kidding, and this is literal because I'm an old road dog. I've been doing it a long time. There used to be these clubs, Coconuts, all over Florida, and they would pay you $50. And many a times, I have driven to Florida, which would be about an 8-9 hour drive. Yeah, and for $50.
Girl, but we've all been there. And that was back when it wasn't the same price as a tank of gas. Remember them days?
Yeah, but it didn't matter because I was getting paid to do
right.
comedy, so I was in the game.
You know what? That's also a testament to your trust muscle, right? Because when you start making money at the thing that you are passionate about, it helps build your trust muscle in I am good at this. I am a professional. I do get paid for this. And so those little deposits you made in your own just psyche of saying, I am worth this. Yes, I just drove 9 hours for $50.
Yeah, for $50. I lost money,
Yeah, but
but
it
didn't
didn't
matter.
matter.
Mm-mm. It didn't matter. And the thing is, the fact that they were offering me to come for
Yeah,
money meant that they thought I was good enough to
that's
be
right.
there.
That's right.
And so it was so exciting, even though I knew that, I couldn't make it on $50 for a gig,
That's
and
right.
I couldn't lose money in this business forever, but it was a stepping stone to get started in this career. And I was so grateful for all those $50 that I
Oh,
took.
Lord. I mean, I look back now too at those moments, and you said that well, between like doing weird, and honey, I feel like I still do them now in LA, moving back here, which is what a time to be alive. When I go to do smaller sets at 15-minute chunks, it's very humbling when you're used to doing an hour or 90 minutes because you're having to, uh, some of these people, they don't know who the heck I am, like I'm like who I am. But you know what I'm saying? I've been doing this a
Right.
buttery minute.
Yes.
So you could be standing in these rooms that you're like, yeah, it's fine, just say I'm from Kentucky. Don't give a credit. Like, who cares? I went on the other night in my overalls because I was like, oh Lord, it's late. I didn't have time to change and go home because I live far away from Hollywood. And I was like, oh yeah. And I haven't been on stage in a pair of overalls, y'all, since probably 97, probably 1997.
But I
And I
bet you
thought,
were adorable in them.
well, thank you. You know what? This is what I remember. And I remember it to be true in 97, still holds true in 2024. So comfortable. What a
Yes,
way to
no
do
kidding.
comedy. But I will say there was something really freeing of that entire audience had no expectation on me, was the point of my story. And I didn't have any of them. And together we had a darling show. It was so much fun. And I'm realizing those are the kinds of things that you go, oh, I remember that feeling. Back, not that I want to be making $2 in a Tic Tac again. I feel like I've worked hard for the audience too.
Right.
But you start going, well, that is very freeing to get up and not have as much stress on you
And not have any expectation.
and not have any
I've always said
expectation.
low expectations is what I like going into a show. When someone comes to me now and says, what's your intro? I'm like, you can just say your next comic. That works for me.
Okay, I might get that cross stitch on a pillow for you. You coming to the stage, your
Your
next
next
comic.
comic. Because it doesn't matter if they say you've been on the Tonight Show 10 times, you were on Seinfeld. I don't care. Pull any
Rabbit out of your
credit you
hat.
want to. If you're not funny when you walk out there, nobody
I don't care.
cares.
I don't care. It's so true. I watched, and we will get back to all the things, but I watched, I think it was Leanne that we had talked about watching Seinfeld's documentary. Y'all, and it was back in like what, early 2000s, like right when his show was going off the air. And so, anywho, I was watching it and I thought, Leanne had said to watch that again. And I was like, that's a good idea. He said it. I don't know if it was him or Chris Rock. It might have been Colin Quinn. Lord have mercy. They all, they've all been together that long. But one of them said, I thought it was Seinfeld, you basically have 5 minutes, even as Seinfeld. He's like, you got 5 minutes of grace because they're like, oh, it's Seinfeld. He goes, and if you aren't funny, you're sucking. And I was like,
Yeah.
he's not wrong, and he has the weight of your Seinfeld. There is that nice grace when you're at that level that you could say booger snots and everybody's like, you're funny.
Yeah.
But you do have to perform after that first five. Like you
Yeah.
have
You
to
walk
deliver.
in with people wanting to like you. So that's already a win. But
That's right.
if you don't keep delivering,
And I was
there's
like,
some
if
fair
that is
weather
just,
fans,
that's
especially in
right.
a comedy club.
Well, and think about this. This was pre-social media. Maybe MySpace was around when this documentary was done on Handler. But it was so powerful watching that going, oh my gosh, that's as true today in 2024 as it was then. It's the one medium. We don't have no backup dancers, We don't have auto-tune, smoke and mirrors. You better get up there and tap dance on that Cheerio.
You better deliver.
You better deliver. Gosh, that's so true. All right, I'm going to go do mine. This was a good one as well. Well, what I did before comedy. Oh Lord, let me tell you that. I hear it. We love a dog. Who's cussing who? Is that at your house? That's usually my house. Kate's got a dog cussing. We love a dog cussing. We're dog people. Both of
And
us.
you
Y'all
know
know
it's
that.
Jackass. That's the one doing it.
That's his name, and we love him. If you're new to what I know so far podcast, we're dog friendly here. All the way. If our dogs want to come on and do time, we'd let them.
Oh, yeah, we're dog obsessed. We're not just
Dog
dog friendly.
obsessed. Thank you. We would actually probably put subtitles if our dogs tried to get on the mic because that's who Kay and I are, and I'm okay with that. What I did before I did comedy, like Karen, had 943 jobs. I did. At one point, I managed a tanning salon. That was a big time. I did manage a tanning salon. So I would get up at 5 a.m. to be at work by 6 because Hollywood's got to tan before they go to set. So I would tan everybody in Hollywood early in the morning. Then I would leave, my clothes were in the car, and I'd go work at either Planet Hollywood, You're Welcome Everybody, or at the Hard Rock Cafe because I worked in both those places at different times, obviously not at the same time. And then after that, I would finish my serving shift and then go bartend late night, either rave clubs in Hollywood and so I worked and I would rinse and repeat. And I lived on like 4 hours of sleep, which is shocking because if I don't have 8 now, I'm a bear. But I did that. And then when I got comedy, something would rotate off the schedule. But I always worked 3 jobs. And then some nights, if I had the time in between, I would go do comedy in between the Hard Rock Cafe and the late night bartending shift in Hollywood. Like I would take whatever set they gave me. One night I was so excited that I got a set at the Laugh Factory. True story. I wish we had video of it. So good. I ran up on stage in my Hard Rock Cafe uniform. And back in the day, y'all, in the late 1900s, the Hard Rock uniform, we'd wear these like white kind of 1950s Mel's Diner kind of drive-in, white, tight fitted. They're so sexist. Uniforms and with all these pins on us, like Hard Rock Cafe guitar pins, and people want to trade them. And I was like, I'm not missing this set. And I didn't change. And I ran up on stage, full Hard Rock uniform. I don't remember.
How cool is that, though? I love that.
Josh Wolf loves telling that story. He's like, everybody was like, has Trish had a stroke? Like, I was in the full get up, and I was like, y'all, I'm sorry, I was just finished my shift, and they just went crazy.
That's somebody who wants to be a comic, though. I
wanted to be a comic. I wanted my time. I was like, I'm going to get up here and figure out how to do this thing. And people were crying. I mean, I've had food stains. I literally think I had like mustard and ketchup under a boob because when you carried all the plates, they'd end up under your cleavage. And I think back to like, man, I worked so hard. And I think I probably only got maybe 5 minutes or 7 back then.
Yeah.
When you think back to like, that's how I ran across this town. And I could afford to because gas wasn't $9 million.
Well, knowing you as I do, one thing I know about you, if someone says, what's the first word you think of when I say Trish? I would say hustler. So I know that how you hustle now, I can only imagine how that you didn't get any sleep and you fit in so many different jobs because you have always been a hustler. And I have to know, did you have to, or have you had to sign NDAs? Can you disclose anyone that you tanned?
Let me think. And I tanned everybody, y'all. And I mean, when I say everybody, and I was okay. I'm trying to think of one person. Only one I would say was Billy Bob Thornton. I tanned Billy Bob. And then I ended up being in one of his music videos. Y'all can look that up. I'm in Starlight Lounge. If you want to Google it, I look like Cher. It was my natural hair. And yes, that is what my natural hair color looks like. I wish I had all that hair back. It was like down to my waist, and I would have time to be alive, all that dark. That was my natural. Starlight Lounge, Billy Bob Thornton. Look at the video. But I tanned him pre-Angelina. So, and then during Angelina, and then post-Angelina, if that tells you, because I used to be married, y'all. And what a time to be alive. But I have tanned some of the craziest situations in Hollywood. I have to tell you stories off. Stuff that you're like, what in the free world?
Yes, inquiring minds want to know.
And I'll tell y'all, I do miss the era of Hollywood pre-smartphones. I do miss that level of, I don't want to say freedom, but it was freedom for even celebrities to just kind of not, like when you think of people that might be slightly nonsensical, they were extra nonsensical back then because no one's gonna like who's gonna know?
Yeah. There wasn't a camera
There
everywhere.
were
Yeah.
no cameras, and they would do things that you're like, how's the air on your planet? Like, what? No, someone could walk in a door. Like I would think someone's gonna walk in this tanning salon. How did you just walk out of your room butt naked to ask me a question? Which, by the way, happened almost
All
every
the
day.
time. Oh
Almost
my
every day.
gosh.
And you'd be like, I'm so sorry, this is not your home. So that kind of stuff, yeah, you and I will discuss those off. I can't believe we haven't talked about that. I've signed more NDAs in this town. It would probably look like the New Testament if you looked how many I have.
And I know of
signed.
one that you signed that I so wish you could talk about, but I know you can't.
I know, y'all.
Mm.
I would write a book of fiction, yet that all the celebrities that I've been blessed enough to have been around and learned from would make every dollar off the book I could write, meaning simply off of what I've learned. Like, I think back now to the education I have received off of working with and for, not just tanning. I've helped cook for families, sous chef, all these things. Wild stories.
You've nannied too, haven't
I
you?
have nannied. I have done. When I tell y'all,
Some big celeb nanny.
I have had some jobs, and I say this to say there's nothing that is below me. There's not. I've cleaned houses. I've done everything, and I not just clean house on Clean House, the
Yeah,
TV
right.
show, which I'm lucky enough to do. But I've literally cleaned houses, and there's nothing. I've gripped. I have been a PA. There is not a job. I've dug graves. Truly. When
Yes,
I tell
truly.
y'all there is not a job, maybe, I've never worked for a porta potty company. I feel like that when I'm safe. Like I will say, like somebody's like, oh, you've never done this. And I've never been a deep sea fisherman. Those are the two things for sure. But I have such great respect of how hard everybody works that it is never lost on me how lucky we are to do what we
Yes,
do. Like,
absolutely.
without question or conflict, the military being number one. I absolutely adore and worship our military. The soldiers of our country. I have done many a show in the Middle East. As Kay knows, I was lucky. And by the way, when you do military shows and go into a war-torn area, you literally make $2 in a tic tac. People always go, "Oh, it's so glamorous. You're going over and like doing comedy in Afghanistan and Iraq." I'm like, no, no. I want to say we made less than $50 a show. Now think about that. You're flying into literally a war zone. You do sign a bunch of mess that says if you die here, not our fault. Love the Department of Defense. You're like,
Oh,
what?
yeah.
So I grew even deeper in love with our military and their families, even though I am a military sister. The level at which these human beings, these amazing men and women, go over and do what they do so that we can pursue in our country that level of freedom.
Mhm.
I know I've in my life, I don't want to say taken for granted, but taken for granted in that sense of like, yeah, I can get a credit card. 50 years ago, we couldn't even get credit cards as women. We had to
That's
have a
right.
spouse.
You had to have
Credit,
permission to even leave the country.
that's right. As my dear friend John DeLong says, God down here can't be correct,
Yeah, it was.
right? It's just
Uh-huh.
wild. And so to get back to all the jobs that everybody does on a daily basis, I don't think anyone's is better than anybody else's. I just think you find the thing that makes you shine. And I'm grateful I've had every job on the way to comedy that makes me even more grateful for the things I get to do.
Well,
That's
let me ask you this. Have you ever dug a grave and then got on stage and wanted to get in it?
uh-huh. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 100% I've done
Many
that.
times.
Many,
Many times.
many,
I've
many,
dug
many
my
times.
grave on stage,
I've dug my
actually.
grave on stage, or worse, when someone dug the comic before you dug a grave and you had to spend all your time digging out
Yeah,
their
climbing
grave.
out of their grave. Yeah, done that too.
That is comedy. That is inside comedy baseball, y'all. But in our world, you don't know what kind of person's going to go before you on a mixed bag kind of a show. You don't know
Right.
the comic. You don't know the producer that booked it. That's why you get so grateful when you get to a point in life that you've worked your butt off to headline. And then you are lucky enough to bring the feature or a co-headliner with you that is of your same ilk, the same type of comedy, the same cleanliness. And I say cleanliness because we're not buttholes. And so if you're somebody that likes to do nasty, it's fine. I'm for sure sassier than Karen, but I'm not dirty by any stretch of the imagination. And I think there's something to be said for comedians that have the gift, and it is a gift to get on after somebody who got up and didn't do so well, and I'm going to be kind by using this language, that maybe didn't do so well, maybe was a little blue, a little new and blue. Blue means dirty, y'all.
Yeah.
And then you have to get on afterwards and use like a Men in Black pen on the audience and be like, let me help you forget what just happened because we're going to go a different way.
Well, and everybody needs, you do you, whatever is what you do, but when you're putting a show together, you want it to make sense at each comic. It needs to build. The show does. And depending on, even if it's another clean act, but they're a music act, sometimes that can throw
order makes
off.
sense. That's right.
can throw it off. So, there's just to crafting a show properly. And bookers who understand that, we are so grateful for.
So grateful. And I also think, too, as comics, even the years that we got to tour together, we've been on shows with all kinds of other great comedians and other talents and other gifts. But when we were on together, it also takes people with a certain amount of love for each other and no ego. Because I don't care where you put me. I really don't. But I understand how it goes. And I also have the energy of a pixie stick. Like, I'm like a little kid at a birthday party that just ate the rose on a birthday cake. Karen will, I've always, like, you'd think I'd had 5 coffees. No. I've just had water with lemon, and I'm just, that's my energy level.
Yes.
Praise God. I hope he never takes
it
from me. So I have to go first because ain't nobody want to deal with all that. Oh, you can't have all that halfway through. People are like, I need a break. But in the beginning, you're like, okay, I can, and I love that. So even when I'm on the road, I have to be mindful that whoever's opening for me can't be Oscar the Grouch or Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh.
That's right.
You have to have a little more energy. I don't need them to be like,
yeah.
But you need somebody, so you're training the audience that it's building, like you just said beautifully.
Yeah, exactly. Well, okay.
We're just going to power through these.
Yeah.
So there are some really good questions. I'm going to give this one that I thought was very interesting. And you and I have talked about this many times, but someone asked me, how do you deal with grief being raised in the funeral business? And if you don't know, you're new here. My family's in the funeral business in southeastern Kentucky, and that's how I grew up. We didn't live in it. We lived near it, but was always in it and around it my entire life. So I don't know if it's a better relationship with loss, but I have a really comfortable one because I was raised from a very young age to, none of us are getting out alive, no matter what you've accomplished or haven't accomplished in life, how mean or how kind.
How much money.
How much money, whatever it is, we're all meeting the same fate. We really are. And so I always kind of had that level playing field about what it meant in life to be good to each other because we all have the same out, basically. But in that, I've always seen grief, always. I can't remember not seeing people in a state of grief. And I know for sure that's a huge reason I went into comedy is because I got great joy making people at their worst laugh or at least brought some levity. As a little child. I wasn't like I was 16, y'all trying to do jokes while somebody lost their parent. I want you to understand what I'm saying. But as a little kid, I would realize like me just being fun or silly and not in like an annoying, I'm going to kill you way, although I'm sure somebody probably wanted to. But I always tried to just bring joy to people because I saw the level of grief they were in. Whether I knew how severe it was, I would just be joyful seeing that light. You could still see it was in somebody. And I remember that. It's probably some of my earliest memories. And that's, I think, when it comes to grief is a snowflake. I'll say this over and over again. My best friend's in the middle of dealing with the loss of her dog. And it's her first and only pet ever. And I tried to explain to her, because I've lost 3. And anybody that knows, and I know I'm not remotely trying to compare a human life to an animal life, but when I say animals can't communicate and they can't tell you when they don't feel good, they, all the things, and you're their caretaker always. With humans, it ebbs and flows. There's seasons of it, but with animals, you are their constant caretaker.
Yeah, they're dependent for their entire life. Yeah.
That's right, and it's a different bond. So I say that to say, grief is a snowflake. No one does it the same, and no one does it wrong. So don't let anybody give you a hard time if you are having trouble with communicating or, just having trouble getting up some days. It's okay. What I will say is just don't feel it, but don't stay in it. That's what I know for sure. What I know for absolute sure is feel all of it. It's crappy sometimes. And now a lot of it doesn't make sense, but I'm not the Lord. I'm not God. I don't, however you believe, I believe. We're here to just be thankful we got time with anybody or anything. And that's how I wasn't trying to be heavy, y'all, but I really think that's an important
It is. It's
question.
an important topic, and
Yeah.
and things that touches everyone, and
Everybody.
and everybody tries to deal as best they can. Um, interestingly, when talking about dogs, and I've lost pets, and it's devastating, and they're my children, and we know how we
Yes.
feel, but and some people don't feel that kind of attachment, but many, many, many do,
Yes.
and even if I see a dog tied up or anything,
Oh,
it just hurts my heart to a point where I can't even. I go in a hole with it and I dwell on it,
hmm
and it's not healthy. It's really not. You got to do what you can do and not just dwell in that to a
sink into
point
that
where it
depression.
takes you into depression. And I really struggle with it. I mean, really. And oddly enough, I was scrolling the other day, just earlier this week, and ran across Vince Vaughn, of all people, talking about this. And he was talking about Old Yeller
Oh,
and how, because of the devastation of him being killed, no one could see the puppy. And that really struck a nerve with me. And I'm like,
oh,
man, that's me. I just focus on what's bad
that's right.
to a point where I don't see the good, the new, anything.
I
So
know.
I'm trying to do better about that.
That's, you know what, Karen, that's a really important, that's huge. When you get in a ditch on that, talk to me through that. When you get, because I get that way too. I actually just get so insular. I don't even talk to people. Like everybody's like, are you okay? Because if not, I do the opposite. I kind of get ragey. Like I'll just start manically going, everything's wrong with everybody.
Well,
Like,
I get ragey too,
okay.
but then
Okay.
I
That makes,
get that. But then it goes from rage to depression.
yeah,
I yelled at somebody. It really brings out the worst in me.
me
It really
too.
does.
No, me too.
Or the best. It depends on if you're the dog or you're the person.
That's true. I know. I really become, I don't, never met an angry dog in my life. I've seen one that have been done dirty and they're still precious. But I will get so hateful on behalf of that animal that I'm
I
like,
know. And then
"Uh,
when they are mean, it's not the dog.
no,
They've been made
the
mean because
conditions.
of the conditions. And I'm one of these people that think if you are, I won't say abusing, but neglecting an animal to where you tie it up and you leave it and
Uh,
you don't pay any attention to it for 10 years, then I don't trust that you don't have a person held in your basement against their will.
well,
I
go ahead
mean,
and preach on
yeah.
that. That's,
So that's a whole
uh,
thing for me. I'm like, you're doing a lot of other bad stuff.
I know. It's a good thing I didn't um, follow the side passion, which would have been an animal like control,
Hmm.
because I'd have turned into like Rambo.
Yeah, me
I'd
too.
be kicking in people's doors. They'd be like, "Did you see on the Trish sir on the news today?" Like I'd have been some crazy vigilante, like
Yeah,
freeing all the animals.
making up my own laws,
Yes,
but
ranch in Wyoming, like
which I didn't mean to go that far with it. But anyway, the point
I love when
is,
you go that far with
I
it,
know,
Kate.
but the point is, that was something I needed to hear. And like I said, I don't know why Vince Vaughn, I don't follow him, but that popped up on it. And I think God needed me to hear
That's right.
that not to just focus on the bad to a point where you don't see the good.
I know it. I know. My girlfriend Tanya and I were just talking about this today because just the state of television and things shifting with work, and you go from all this work to no work because the world's changing, right? Fine.
Right.
And we were talking about jobs, and you have they ebb and flow. There's no guarantee in television. There's no guarantee in anybody's job. You could be
No.
at Microsoft 25 years and they come in and go, thanks for your service,
Yeah.
deuces, like bye, and you're what? So there's no guarantee in any job, right? Anything. But she and I were talking about, instead of sitting there, and you and I've talked about this before, I will give myself a 24-hour pity party when something bad, let's just say, but something unexpected bums you out. I don't want to say bad, but for lack of a better word, non-desirable happens, right? I'll give myself 24 hours to be like, man, that is not awesome. I'm so bummed. I'll get this, and I will put a timer in my phone, y'all. That's how serious I take it. Because if not, 24 hours. If you don't monitor it, it becomes a week, a month, a life. And I
That's
ain't
right.
doing that. I ain't doing that. And so Tanya and I were having a great conversation about, she goes, I did the same thing. And she's, and I love that advice. And I woke up and I felt recharged and I went, I know there's something bigger for me. And if we could all just take that mindset when something doesn't go or a chapter ends, and instead of being like, how am I going to replace this? Where's this money going to come from? Blah, blah. We all do it. And instead of doing all that, stop and go, God's always got my back. It always works out. I know it does. I know I sound Pollyanna saying this, but I'm going to tell you right now, I've never been proved wrong. I've never been proved wrong. And I thank God every day that that's who he's made me to be. To
Right.
go, okay, this was not optimal. It's usually what I do. I walk around instead of saying, because I used to go, this sucks as a kid. And my mom's like, you can't say that. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to say? My papa would go, well, I always have enjoyed the word optimal. And I was like, what in the hell? And then I had to go look it up in the dictionary. And I was like, okay, optimal, best. Okay. And so I'd walk around when something bad would happen and go, this is not optimal. I now know optimal's coming.
Yes, that's
And
right.
that's the place to be. So I think there is really something to that shift in mindset beautifully. Animals, people, life, jobs, something
Anything. I
something
mean,
great's coming.
you
We
can't
sound
just
super.
dwell in you can't just dwell in what's wrong or what ended or what's over or what happened.
Oh,
You need to feel it and
yeah,
then move out of it
because it
because,
becomes stew.
yeah, or else you miss what's next.
You miss what's next. Kay is full. Let me tell you something, y'all. The more we do this show, little Kay has become the wisdom dropper. Bloop, bloop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
I'm
like,
t- you're like a shaman.
I'm Yogi Berra, so
You're
I am.
okay.
If
Now,
nothing ever changes, nothing ever changes. That's my
so,
favorite.
guys,
That
did you watch
I
that
say.
documentary,
No, of what?
Yogi Berra?
Oh, no, I haven't.
Y'all do yourself a favor. I believe it's on Max. I believe it's on, might
I
be
would
Netflix.
love it though.
It is phenomenal. If Yogi Berra, baseball player, we weren't talking about Yogi Berra, the darling Hanna-Barbera, Yo Boo Boo, not that. Yogi Berra, baseball player.
Yes.
Then after that, most notably, was the manager of the Yankees. And he's had one of the most storied careers in all of sports, let alone
yeah.
baseball.
Mm-hmm.
But he was infamous for his one-liners and his sayings that sounded like they didn't make a lick of sense. And it's shocking he wasn't Southern, because they were almost Southern.
I know it. I know it. It ain't over till it's over. That was Yogi.
One of the greatest ones ever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's got, I mean, by a mile, I'm going to pull some up while we're sitting here, but he has his family did this. Well, I don't know if his family, but his family participated in it. And unbelievable, one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Wow, I need to go watch that.
Yeah, it's either
I'll watch it this
Netflix or
weekend.
HBO or Max, whatever we're calling it now. Y'all too much to keep up with. But it is so good. Okay, it's one of the best ones there is.
Oh, I can't wait to watch it.
I know. So please do that. Yogi Berra. I mean, his quotes were legendary.
When
It's
you
called,
get to a fork in the road, take it. I mean,
yes.
But I was talking to someone recently, and I said, if nothing ever changes, nothing ever changes. And I said, well, that sounds like Yogi. I mean, but that's his kind of quotes.
But his were just that. That's what I was trying to find some, but that is the most famous by a mile. If you ask me anything, and if you ask me anything I don't know, I'm not going to answer. He would always, baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical. I mean, Yogi Berra.
Yeah, he had great ones.
Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. You can't, yeah. You can observe a lot by just watching. Y'all, please do yourself a favor. Oh, this was the one. This used to hang in the break room at our family's funeral home. This is what made me watch the whole doc anyway. Always go to other people's funerals. Otherwise, they won't come to yours. Sorry, I thought you'd appreciate it.
So funny.
So there you are. Yeah, Yogi Berra. If you don't know him or you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor. Let's see what else. I've got one
this
more.
Is off topic, but I got to tell you.
Yeah,
have you
please.
watched, I mean, just because you were talking about watching that, have you watched, I think it's called Visible in Hollywood?
No. Let me write
it's on
this down.
Apple. It's Visible something. But it's so good, but it's about all the people in Hollywood who are gay. But it was the old time.
So they couldn't be themselves.
So they couldn't be themselves except for Liberace. And they said that
Yeah.
everybody just accepted him because he's so joyful, and everybody loved him. And it was just, he never talked about it, but it was just Liberace, and everybody just fell in love with him. But everyone else was so afraid. But do you know who is gay? That I had no idea. And I've
Who?
only watched the first episode. I think there's
Okay.
four. But Perry Mason.
So
Um,
Raniel,
No,
Perry Mason?
Raymond Burr. Yeah. Who played Perry Mason.
Wait a hot second. Hold on. Really?
I would not in a million years have thought that he
No,
was gay.
ma'am.
I mean, he played these big burly characters. I mean, that's stereotyping. And I don't mean to do that, but I'm just saying. I just would
Yes.
have never. He was not one that I would have ever suspected as being gay.
I did not. And yeah, and like the epitome of like law and order and,
Yeah.
fairness, justice.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm watching this. See, I love
I
that
love
though.
that stuff.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love anything old Hollywood. I get
Uh-huh.
it's hard. It is very hard living near Hollywood now, y'all, because there's not a lot of preservation. I don't know where the Hollywood Preservation Society went, but apparently they don't exist. And a lot of gorgeous, historical, stunning buildings are either dilapidated and not being cared for, or being torn down to make mega mansions. And it's just a bummer because that's the other part of Hollywood that just makes it so magical. And you're like, no, please don't build another big, shiny, whatever
Yeah.
they are.
Well, I just want to tell you that because I knew that you would.
I'd watch it.
Yeah. No, it's just called Visible.
Visible. Okay, y'all, if anybody's seen it, DM us. We need to know, like, how many, if you watched all 4 episodes, was anybody surprising to you? And aren't we grateful that we are not in that time anymore? Everybody can just be themselves.
Well, we're trying to
getting
get there. Yeah.
Well,
but
we're working harder.
A lot further than where they were. God bless them.
Praise goodness. I know. That's right. And we just keep getting further that nobody will have to be like, what? I love Karen's ringtones. Mine are
Yeah.
just like the boring ones that come with the phone, and Karen's always got a dance party or like a train whistle.
But what happens that I put on do not disturb, and it still lets my phone
okay.
ring. I know it's okay, but
Who
I just don't
cares?
understand.
He's worried about it right now.
No,
He just said
ain't
so.
nobody worried about it.
Nobody's worried. That's what we love about it. I'm going to ask one more question, which was asked by us, is when are we doing a show together? Which we appreciate that question.
Yes.
We're working on it.
We are. It's really about coordinating schedules.
Yeah. So don't you worry. It's not that I would read a Waffle House menu with Karen Mills anytime.
Yes.
Or
and we
Ruby
have so
Tuesdays.
much fun
We do.
together, and it's a fun show. And I promise you, we actually want to do a podcast
Live.
with the comedy shows. So it would be really, really fun.
That'll be so much fun, which we'll get to. And I'll help sack up your luggage since we won't have little Tess Lucille with us.
Yeah, that's right.
I love sacking up luggage, y'all. I run a tight ship.
Well, you can do that whole Tetris thing in the car.
I enjoy it. I love the
Yes, and
logistic.
you can put together a puzzle and fit more in there than.
It's the Capricorn in me. Are there any other Capricorns listening who just like, my husband thinks it's a control freak thing. And I'm like, maybe that could be it. But I am friends with so many Capricorns that they're the same. They're like, that's me. I do this. I'm like, thank goodness. Because I thought, man, I gotta quit this. But it's like in my DNA.
Yeah. So it is Christy's as well. And she's Cancer.
Real. But they're very meticulous Cancers. Cancers are word is meticulous, like the details. Everything's the details. That's why Cancers and Capricorns get along so well, is we are the logistics. I would be darling running UPS. Like, we love like 5 planes and how much does it have to get there and what's the weight on it and when do you need it? I love that mess.
Oh, God. No.
Karen rolls in the airport on 2 wheels and is like, do I remember my bag?
Yeah, that's right. The Aries in me does not care about that.
That's my husband. Jace, my husband's an Aries. And he's like, it's fine. It's fine. Like,
He's like, it'll make it.
Yeah,
we'll
and
get there.
he's like, it's gonna work out. And I'm like, what kind of crazy person says it's gonna work?
If we don't work it out.
Right? Yet meanwhile, I'm over here going, God's gonna let it all be handled, love and light. Unless, of course, it's a flight or travel. Then I'm like, I'll be there 2 hours. We could have done a bunch of Ask Me Anythings. We didn't want to eat up your whole day, y'all. Send us more questions. We love answering them. Tell us what guests you want on, because we have great new guests coming.
And we
which,
can do this periodically. So send questions, and we'll,
yeah, we love
Yeah.
an AMA. An
Yeah.
AMA, as the kids say, ask me anything, ask us. AUA, ask us anything.
Yeah.
We're thrilled to answer it. And yeah, we just love y'all. Please rate, subscribe, review, all the things. And we'd love to, have anything you want us to have on. We'll sure as heck do it.
Just listen to us wherever you get your podcasts.
Please. Thank you, Kay. Wherever you get your podcasts, we would love that. So give us a listen. We've got fun guests coming up in the queue, if you will. And yeah, just have the best week ever. Follow Karen at Karen Mills Comedy, and I would give all her socials. Everything we talk about, y'all, is in the show notes. So if you're ever like, hey, they talked about something, we need to start doing our favorite things and then list it in that, because somebody else asked all of our favorite stuff for like travel. I was like, I didn't think about that. Yeah. And then we can list it all in the show notes so y'all can listen. That was an Ask Me Anything, like, can you tell us? And I was like, that's its own episode.
Yeah, no kidding.
So I said, well, we'll get to that. But everything from our favorite luggage to like Karen's the queen of chic, Ralph Lauren, like her go-to stuff that she loves wardrobe wise, we can pin it all. I love a logistics, so we'll give you the notes for everything. But from skincare to, I was like, I don't got all that time right now. Goodness. But we will do that episode.
Yes.
And we love y'all. Okay, have the very best day.
You too, honey.
And we love y'all. Y'all have a great one.
Love
what
you,
I know so far is that I love you.
I love you too.
Have a great one, darling.
You too, honey.